Hello, good evening all. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and thank you for joining us at the Nevis Emergency Operations Center, EOC, today, Monday, 14th September 2020, for an update on the situation regarding the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, here on Nevis. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our viewers and to thank the media houses who have assisted us with these briefings. All questions, of course, will be taken at the end after all presenters would have presented. And the COVID-19 briefings are aired on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on Nevis Television, or you can view the briefings on the social media pages such as YouTube and Facebook of Nevis Television, Nevis HPU, NDMD, and also on Von Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Today, I wear yellow, representing one of our patriotic colors, and I think tomorrow is black, so encouraging persons to wear black tomorrow to commemorate our 37th anniversary of independence, which will be the 19th of September, this coming Saturday. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Brian Dyer, who will give us his update.
Good evening, everyone. Again, we start with some weather information. We have a very active Atlantic with some 7 systems being reported on by the National Hurricane Center. Of most interest to us would be Tropical Storm Teddy. However, I'll give a brief summary of the other systems. Started Hurricane Sally. Hurricane Sally is located in the Gulf of Mexico. Sally has strengthened into a hurricane. Hurricane Sally is centered near latitude 28.7 degrees north, 87.1 degrees west, or 140 miles southeast of Biloxi, Mississippi, moving west-northwest at 6. Estimated minimum central pressure 986 millibars. Maximum sustained winds at 80 knots, with wind gusts up to 100 knots. Moving on to Hurricane Paulette that passed by us a few days ago. Hurricane Paulette is centered near latitude 33.9 north, 64.4 degrees west, or 100 nautical miles to the north of Bermuda, moving north-northeast at 11 knots. Estimated minimum central pressure 965 millibars. Maximum sustained winds again 90 knots and gusting to 110. And Tropical Storm Teddy, who's just east of the islands. A bit of good news is also moving north like Rene and Paulette. Tropical Storm Teddy is centered near latitude 12.8 degrees north, 42.8 degrees west, or 1,085 miles east of the Les Antilles, moving west at 12 knots. Estimated minimum central pressure 1,004 millibars. Maximum wind speed is 35. Maximum sustained wind speed is 35 knots with gusts 45 knots. Numerous moderate scattered strong convection is noted within 30 nautical miles of the center in the northeast quadrant. This movement would continue, and Tropical Storm Teddy is likely to pass the Leeward Islands on Wednesday night into Thursday, between Wednesday and Thursday, as it currently moves very slowly. Tropical Depression Rene is a bit east of Tropical Storm Teddy, is no threat to the Leeward Islands. However, Tropical Storm Rene is located at 27.5 degrees north, 48.3 degrees west, or 975 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands. Rene is currently stationary. Estimated minimum central pressure 1,011 millibars. Maximum sustained wind speed 25 knots, with gusts up to 35 knots. Moving on to Tropical Storm Vicky. Tropical Depression 21 has strengthened into Tropical Storm Vicky. Vicky is centered near latitude 18.7 degrees north, 28.5 degrees west, or about 305 nautical miles west-northwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, moving northwest near 5 knots. Estimated minimum central pressure 1,002 millibars. Maximum wind speed 40 knots, gusting to 50 knots. This would not affect the Leeward Islands. However, the interest in the Cabo Verde Islands should pay close attention to this one. Finally, there's a tropical wave that is moving off the African coast that could pose some concern for us next week. An Eastern Atlantic Ocean tropical wave is along 19 to 20 degrees west from 01 knot to 17 knot, moving west at 10. Scattered moderate isolated strong convection between 100 and nautical miles either side of the wave axis from 06 knot to 14 knot. Environmental conditions appear to be conducive for slow development. This system has a low chance of tropical cyclone formation within the next 48 hours. And this system on the westerly track could pose some concern for us in the Leeward Islands next week, Wednesday or thereabouts. This graphic is showing the northerly track of the three systems, Hurricane Paulette, Rene, and now Teddy. Yes, Teddy, following the similar track as Paulette, going to the north of the islands. However, we still have to pay attention to as we are in the peak of the hurricane season, and we would like persons again to be prepared in the event we have to issue warnings for the other systems that may develop as the season progresses. Again, this graphic is showing that we are in the peak of this season and anything can happen. We are almost at the end of the named storms and we haven't completed September as yet. So we are mindful and must be cautious with regards to our preparations going forward. And finally, a note from the Compliance Task Force. The Compliance Task Force has indicated that they have recognized some slackening of the wearing of masks in some of the churches that were inspected. So I just would like to encourage persons, even though the SRNO 39 provides the churches the leeway to extend their operation hours, the wearing of masks is mandatory and should be adhered to at all times. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Lyndon David, Superintendent of Royal St. Kitts Nevis Police Force, Nevis Division.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be back here again with you to give you some information as to our statistical operations and to let persons know there are some observations and encourage all to comply. Thus far, we have conducted 1,710 patrols, both mobile and foot. 151 vehicle checkpoints have been conducted. 72 arrests were made. 10 persons charged. We have 26 crimes. And we're still stuck at, and we will not move forward from the curfew reported charges because no more curfew is there, but we still have seen certain criminal activities taking place. Thus far, we have 9,251 vehicles stopped. 26 persons were informed that there will be summons for varying offenses under these regulations. I'll move on to my observations. I have observed that we have seen where a number of persons now are not wearing masks. And this come about because school has opened. And I've seen where a number of school children during lunchtime, and when school over, they are not wearing a mask. If I see 10 students, 1 in 10 will be wearing the mask. So I am encouraging teachers, parents, guardians, and you the students, let us have the mask being worn in order to avoid you being summoned or arrested depending on your behavior at the time, and also to prevent the spread of COVID in our division and by the extension of our federation. As mentioned earlier by Mr. Dyer regarding the churches, yes, it was also brought to my attention that some churches are not complying, and I will say to you that the regulation clearly states that masks must be worn. So I'm encouraging all pastors, elders, to ensure that your members do carry out these protocols, and also your visitors. Just for the children's sake, let me say what is our state, what is a public place. A public place includes an outdoor or indoor area, whether privately or publicly owned, to which the public has access by right or by invitation, expressed or implied, whether by payment of money or not, and include shopping centers, supermarkets, pharmacies, banks, utility departments, bars. Well, I don't expect children to be at a bar, but we know we have some of you on the weekends, you do things that you're not to do. So I'm saying to you, stay away from bars, and persons who run bars, anyone under the age, you are not to sell them and let them go away. Hotels, schools, you must wear this in the schools, and all other educational institutions, hospitals, whether publicly or privately operated, churches, other religious establishments, public transportation, community centers, government offices, public markets, other places or buildings of all types accessible to the public. So children, ensure that when you're in these areas, you wear your mask. Avoid any unnecessary interactions with members of the police force, or even an adult who will want to see you do the right thing. The number of persons to be permitted in any establishment at any one time will be by allotting 30 square feet to one person for every store space. We are still seeing where some persons, they are not following this, but we're saying to you, ensure that you follow this protocol. All are reminded of the restriction on parties and beach parties, picnics, banquets, balls, receptions, meetings. There should be no meetings unless you have a written approval from the Commissioner of Police. Have that question been asked, and we are saying to you, any meeting whatsoever, you are to write to the Chief of Police, who will consult with the task force. We have seen where many persons applied to have various activities that will gather large numbers of persons. We are saying to you that you must apply, and some of you are not complying with the promise that you made in your application. We are saying to you, if you apply for 10 persons, 10 persons must be allowed. You indicated to us that you're going to have persons wearing masks, there will be sanitizers, and social distancing and physical distancing, and you're not doing it. You should not do that. We are saying to you, we will not tolerate that, and we will take the necessary courses of action. So it has not gone unnoticed. All heads of sporting bodies or sporting organizations, you are reminded of the following. An application has to be made to the Ministry of Sports for permission to host inter-team or inter-club competitive matches with a maximum of 50% spectator capacity. Let me repeat. Heads of sporting bodies or organizations, you must make an application to the Ministry of Sports in order for you to have your activity take place. And guess what? It must not pass half the capacity of spectators. The seating arrangement will allow for a minimum of 6 feet between persons, and you must have distant markers. The total number of persons that may be permitted to attend inside the building or stadium is one person for every 30 square feet. Work out your maths, but at the end of the day, if you hold 100 persons, you start to do your calculations. You don't even have to do the measurement, but do your calculations. Finally, I take this opportunity to thank God for his continued mercies and blessings on our federation, where we have seen no new cases, we have seen no deaths, and we have seen where a good cross-section of our community are complying. Persons who were infected, they have recovered well, and our medical staff continue to do what they're doing. Law enforcement and other essential persons are doing their work, so we want to say thank you as well. Governments, both local and federal, for your continued support and the initiative that you take, including going into Cabinet and passing necessary regulations. Disaster staff, we want to thank you for continuing to ensure that the disaster medical, in terms of the quarantine sites, are manned and being visited, the persons inside, and getting the necessary food and change of clothing. The media, we want to thank you for your presence here and carrying out our message to the public. And to all those citizens who continue to support us, we're saying thank you to you and encourage you to continue to help us take this message to our community, and you play your part. Those persons who are continuing violating, we're saying to you, look at the bigger picture. Look at what is happening around the world. There are many countries who open up and have closed down again. St. Kitts and Nevis, we're doing very well. So I'm saying to each and every one of us, let us continue to do our part to make our federation a safer place when it comes to COVID-19. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Superintendent David. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Judy Nisbet, Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force, who will provide her update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to everyone. I'm also wearing yellow, one of our national colors today. To start with the global statistics, the World Health Organization reports that as of today, Monday, 14th September, there have been 28,918,900 confirmed cases worldwide since the start of the epidemic. This is 1.9 million additional cases in 1 week. Deaths worldwide have risen to 922,250, with over 40,000 occurring during the last week. Worldwide, the USA continues to lead in the number of confirmed cases with 6.4 million cases, followed by India with 4.5 million cases, and then Brazil with 4.3 million cases. When the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, did their last count on September 10th, there have been, since the onset of the pandemic, 184,561 cases. Of these, 104,293 persons have recovered from COVID-19, and 3,219 deaths have occurred due to the disease. On Nevis, we have had, since the onset of the pandemic, 4 cases, with all recovered, no active cases, and no deaths. We have tested 343 persons since the onset of the pandemic, with 338 being negative and 1 test pending. We continue to quarantine persons who arrive on island, and as of today, since the start of the pandemic, we have released 353 persons from quarantine. Currently, there are 40 persons in mandatory quarantine. As we prepare to further open our borders, we have been engaged in preparations. We have been conducting training in some sectors. The teachers and support staff of the education sector were exposed to training prior to the opening of schools. The compliance team has visited all schools, including nurseries, preschools, primary schools, and secondary schools, with only 1 secondary school to be completed this week, to ensure that the COVID-19 protocols are being adhered to. These visits will continue to ensure that the schools are adhering to all protocols and keeping the nation's children safe. In terms of the tourism sector, the different tourism-related businesses, such as hotels, restaurants, taxi operators, tour guides, craft vendors, etc., have attended sensitization sessions to ensure that training continues at the level of the individual businesses. The Ministries of Health and Tourism were not comfortable just having a sensitization, and now, as of today, embarked on a trainer of trainer workshop for persons from each business. And the idea is that these persons with advanced hands-on training would then go back to their institutions and have continuous training of their staff and continuous monitoring and evaluation within their operations. We are certainly looking forward to this being a success. Now, it is really important that these sensitization and training sessions happen, because we take it for granted that some things, they may look simple, but they are not that simple. Some things such as putting on and taking off of a mask, there's a particular technique. So we needed then to share that with the different sectors. Things such as washing of hands. It's not just simply, it's not a simple procedure. There's a particular technique. So it was important that we meet with these persons and show them the proper techniques. Even, for example, mixing of cleaning agents. There are particular formulas that should be used. And therefore, that is why we embarked on the training, the sensitization, and the advanced training. The compliance team has also been visiting the hotels, the restaurants, and other tourism-related entities that are operational at this time to ensure that the COVID-19 protocols are in place and are adhered to. The Ministry of Health intends to target frontline workers at the ports next, so that they too can be prepared to safely operate at our borders once the borders are open to commercial flights and to sea traffic. The task force has also visited the airport on more than one occasion to discuss any changes or improvements that may be needed to be done by NASPA in preparation for the opening to commercial flights. We will keep the public informed of the changes as they take place. So these are just some of the preparations that the task force is involved with in conjunction with the Ministries of Health, Tourism, and other sectors and other ministries, and we will continue to keep you updated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nisbet. That's the end of our presentation in terms of our speakers for today, Monday. I'd now like to take any questions that our media persons may wish to ask. Shamika Budgin, if or when we are at the end of the number of named storms for 2020 and more developments concerning storms arise, how will other names be selected? Please explain.
Hi, the National Hurricane Center and the World Met Organization has a naming convention. If the list of names is exceeded, then they will go into the Greek alphabet until the end of the hurricane season. Alpha, Gamma, if you know, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, etc., etc. Thank you.
Jarvis Brown, Van Radio. What number of persons who have been ticketed? Can we have an update if it has not been provided? Ticketed for mass, that is.
Okay, good day. Thank you very much for that question. At this time, I will say that the ticket books, they have not been printed as yet. We are still waiting on them. And once these books are presented to us, we will start ticketing persons for the wearing of masks. However, what I will say to you is that persons still can be summoned for not wearing the mask, as mentioned previously. Persons are of the view that if there is no ticketing being issued, the offense is not committed. You still can be summoned, and that is not exceeding $5,000. But the ticket will have that fixed penalty of $500. So we are saying to persons, avoid either and just look at the bigger picture, which is a health issue that we should try to prevent from taking place in our federation. Thank you.
All right. That's the end of our Q&A. So I just want to say thank you to all our presenters today, Monday. And I want to thank all our media houses who have participated. And I just want to remind persons that you can protect yourself and be safe and protect others by complying to these measures that we've been talking about all week, which is to wash your hands, cover your cough and sneeze, and as you can see on the screen, these are the measures, so you should know them by now, and you should continue to practice those. I just want to say thank you to the Nevis Disaster Management, Nevis Television, Caribbean Digital Displays Limited, Cornerstone, staff of the Health Promotion Unit, and task force members for making this briefing possible. I am Nadine Carty-Keynes, and please join us again on Monday at 8:30 p.m. for another EOC briefing here on Nevis Television. Thank you for viewing, and please do stay safe.